Hi, it's Mrs. Rowe, and I'm going to read Hieroglyphs from A to Z by Peter Der Manuelian. Hieroglyphs from A to Z, a rhyming book for kids. ABCs can be fun. Do you know yours by heart? They can help you make words. They can help you be smart. Did you know long ago in the land of old Egypt, people wrote with pictures? They didn't use script. They drew snakes, they drew birds, lions, mountains, and kings. And these all stood for letters, ideas, and things. We'll show you a few of these signs from the Nile. They'll help you learn ABCs with a smile. So these are the hieroglyphic alphabet letters. So this is A, and that's something it stands for, an archer, but then they'll talk about each letter down here. So A is for archer who carries a bow. And then it says, to write the letter A, the Egyptians used a vulture. And then to spell archer using hieroglyphs, you would write, and it shows you A-R-C-H-E-R. The Egyptians used bows and arrows to hunt wild animals in the desert, such as bulls, rabbits, gazelles, and hedgehogs. B is for beetle, whose footsteps are slow. To write the letter B, the Egyptians used a foot. The scarab beetle was worn as a powerful lucky charm. The Egyptians made scarab jewelry out of blue glass and jewels. C is for cat, who sits there so still. The Egyptians had no letter C, but you can use a basket with a handle, which is the letter K, to stand for the C sound. Cats were considered sacred by the ancient Egyptians. They even had a cat goddess named Bastet. D is for duck, who quacks with his bill. To write the letter D, the Egyptians used a hand. The Egyptians had many of the same kinds of colorful ducks that we have today. E is for eyes looking up and down. To write the letter E, the Egyptians used a reed leaf, which is a type of plant. The Egyptians painted two eyes on the outside of their coffins so dead people could look out. F is for fish. Watch it swim all around. To write the letter F, the Egyptians used a horned viper, kind of like a snake. I think it looks like a little snail with those horns. Egyptians loved to eat fish from the Nile River. They also ate meat, vegetables, cakes, and cookies. G is a giraffe stretching high to the sky. To write the letter G, Egyptians used a pot stand, so something that they would cook on. Giraffes were rare and exotic animals that came from the land of Nubia, from South Egypt. H is a hand. Wave your own and say hi. To write the letter H, the Egyptians used a shelter, which is a place to live. To spell hand using hieroglyphs, they write it out. They write that for every word, but I'm not going to go through each one. Egyptian statues often show couples holding hands. Raising both hands in front of you was a sign of worship and greeting, kind of like waving today. I is for ibex, which is that animal. Watch him leap out of sight. To write the letter I, the Egyptians used a reed leaf. An ibex is like a mountain goat. All kinds of horned animals lived in ancient Egypt, like ibex, gazelles, oryxes, and bulls. J is for jackal, who prowls at night. To write the letter J, the Egyptians used a snake. Jackals wandered along the desert's edge near cemeteries. Egyptians believed the jackal-headed god Anubis guided the dead through the underworld, brought them through the underworld. K is for kilt, made of linen so white. To write the letter K, the Egyptians used a basket with a handle. I think it looks a little like a teacup. To spell kilt, you would write it that way. Egyptian kilts were made of pleated linen. Kilts are like skirts, but they were worn by men. L is for lion, so proud in his might. To write the letter L, the Egyptians used a crouching lion, so this one actually matches. The powerful lion was a symbol for the pharaoh or king of Egypt. Some pharaohs even had pet lions. M is for man, who is full of surprises. To write the letter M, the Egyptians used an owl. Working together, thousands of men built the pyramids. The Great Pyramid has 2.5 million stones in it, and it took 20 years to build. N is for nose in all shapes and sizes. To write the letter N, the Egyptians used a zigzag water sign. The nose stood for the breath of life. Egyptian women wore perfume, and priests used incense in religious ceremonies. O is for owl, who is incredibly wise. To write the letter O, the Egyptians used a lasso, kind of like they would wrangle the bulls with. The Egyptians did not think the owl stood for wisdom the way we do. Its big staring eyes reminded the Egyptians of seeing. P is a pyramid reaching the skies. To write the letter P, the Egyptians used a footstool, just something to step up onto. The Egyptians built pyramids to be a final resting place for their kings. The Great Pyramid is 450 feet high, almost twice as tall as the Statue of Liberty. Q is for quail chick, all ready to grow. To write the letter Q, the Egyptians used a hill. To spell quail chick using hieroglyphs, you would write all those little hieroglyphs. Quails and many other birds, falcons, ibises, herons, lapwings, swallows, ducks, and geese lived on banks of the Nile River. R is for rabbit. Make a move or off he'll go. To write the letter R, the Egyptians used a mouth. So it kind of is like an open mouth. Wild rabbits lived in the Egyptian desert. One particular area in Upper Egypt worshipped a rabbit goddess named Wendet. S is for snake, creeping silently around. To write the letter S, the Egyptians used a folded cloth. So imagine this is like a towel kind of over a towel rack. The pharaoh wore a gold cobra on his crown as a symbol of royalty and power. And the snake, Merit Segar, was the goddess of silence. Shh. T is for tree, rooted safe in the ground. To write the letter T, the Egyptians used a loaf of bread, kind of like a round loaf of bread from the side. Good wood for making things was hard to find in ancient Egypt, because remember, they're in the desert. That's why they built their houses out of sun-dried mud bricks. U is for unraveling the secret of the hieroglyphs, which is what you guys know. To write the letter U, the Egyptians used a quail chick. The Egyptians wrote on long sheets of papyrus, which is a type of paper they invented, and then they rolled them up. This scroll the man is reading says love, Love. V is for vulture, who soars from the cliffs. The Egyptians had no letter V, but you can use a horned viper, which is the letter F, for the V sound. Many birds were worshipped as symbols of the gods. The vulture and the falcon and the ibis were some of them. W is for woman, whose wisdom is clear. To write the letter W, the Egyptians used a quail chick. To spell woman using hieroglyphs, you would write W-O-M-A-N. Nefertiti and Cleopatra were famous Egyptian queens. Nefertiti was known for her beauty and Cleopatra for her intelligence. X. X marks the spot because you are here. The Egyptians had no letter X, but you can use a basket, which is the letter K, and a folded cloth, which is the letter S, instead. The big round hieroglyph above shows two streets crossing each other. The Egyptians had both large cities and small villages. Y is for youth, a young girl or boy. To write the letter Y, the Egyptians used 2 reed leaves. The finger raised towards the mouth is the Egyptian way to show a young person. Many kids had shaved heads with 1 lock of hair on the side, called a side lock. Z is for zoo, a great place of joy. To write the letter Z, the Egyptian used a door bolt, so a bolt for a door. The Egyptians had many signs for animals, and they even had zoos, too. Animals were brought from North Africa, the Near East, and the Red Sea coast. What's a hieroglyph anyway? Long ago, over 5,000 years ago, the ancient Egyptians found a way to put their spoken language into writing. At first, the Egyptians used pictures to record their words and ideas. For example, they used that little circle with another tiny circle inside to stand for the word sun. As they needed to write down more and more complicated ideas, their language grew and changed. The circle with the small circle was a good way to represent sun, but how could you say sunny day or sunspot or sunburn? Instead of coming up with new pictures for these new ideas, the Egyptians combined one hieroglyph with another hieroglyph to create new words. Here's an example of this idea. A bee and a leaf could be put together to make belief, which would be the word belief, like to believe in something. So in addition to being pictures, hieroglyphs were also sounds. With time, the Egyptians started combining one sound with another sound to make words. We do the same thing in English. We have 26 letters in our alphabet that represent many different sounds. We combine these to make words, and the Egyptians had hundreds of different hieroglyphs, and they combined them to make words too. So I hope you learned something about ancient Egypt from this story.